where, the whole earth, the whole world means the land. All right? And we make that distinction. We won't have any problem with the flood being local. Now, the word translated earth is Eretz, E-R-E-T-S, Eretz. But it's also translated country 140 times. Country. So you even say God flooded the whole country. He flooded the whole country. It's also translated 1,476 times land, not earth, land. Okay? Cain was driven from the face of the earth. Where did he go? Jupiter? Land. He was driven from the land where he lived, the land of his parents. And then later we read of Abraham, he says, "Get thee out of your country, Eretz, into a land, Eretz, that I will show you." So Abraham journeyed thence toward the south country, Eretz. Same word translated earth. Okay? It talks about the whole land of Havilah there in the 2nd chapter. Eretz. Not the whole earth of Havilah. No, just the land. Okay. And then we have destruction of different destructions. Isaiah 13:5, they destroyed the whole land. Well, if they had put it earth, like they did back in chapter 6, they said you destroyed the whole earth. Right? The whole land shall be desolate, Jeremiah 4:27. The word is Eretz. They couldn't translate it earth. The whole earth was desolate. No, it wasn't. Only that part of the land. Okay? Jeremiah 21:11 makes it more specific, though. There it says, "And this whole Eretz, or land." This whole earth. No, this whole land. Okay? And of course, we talked about mountains that can be translated hills. Did I mention about the pressure? We talked about sea pressure, didn't we? If you pile the water up 6 miles high, instead of being 15 pounds per square inch, it would be 800 tons. So the idea that, fish could at least survive in those. No, they couldn't. Pyramids wouldn't make it either. Nor Stonehenge. This guy brings up an interesting point. He said God told him to take everything, male and female. He said, how do you tell the difference between a male and a female snake? Or ants? Termites? Many fish can only live in fresh water. You put salt water, they're dead. So did we lose all the saltwater fish? No, we would have lost all the fish. Okay? Alright, now, I want to talk, because this is kind of fun. Josephus, you're familiar with Flavius Josephus, Jewish historian, wrote in the 2nd century A.D. And he's the one who recorded the most famous secular history of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay, so after they had stayed 7 more days, he sent the living creatures out of the ark, and both he and his family went out when he also sacrificed to God and feasted with his companions. However, the Armenians call this place the place of descent, for the ark being saved in that place, it remains are shown there by the inhabitants to this day. So he's saying that 200 AD, you could still go over in the area of Armenia, and there's still some remnants of the ark. Now, all of the writers of the barbarian historians make mention of this flood and of this ark, among whom is Berosus the Chaldean, for when he is described the circumstances of the flood, he goes on as thus, quote, "It is said there is still some parts of this ship in Armenia at the mountain of Cordanians, and that some people carry off pieces of the bitumen which they take away and use chiefly as amulets for averting of mischief." In other words, for religious charms to ward off evil spirits. Hieronymus, the Egyptian, also wrote the Phoenician antiquities, and Manasius and a great many more make mention of the same. Named Nicholas of Damascus, in his 96th book, had a particular relation about them where he speaks thus: "There is a great mountain in Armenia over Minas called Baras, upon which it is reported that many who fled at the time of the deluge were saved." Huh? Many who fled at the time of the deluge were saved at Mount Baras. Baris. And that one who was carried in an ark came on shore upon the top of it, and that the remains of the timber were a great while preserved. This may be the man about whom Moses, the legislator of the Jews, wrote. Okay, it's not a lot here, just a little bit. Okay, a little bit more. Chapter 4. This is chapter 4 of Antiquities of the Jews, book 1. Concerning the Tower of Babylon and the confusion of tongues. Now the sons of Noah were 3, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, born 100 years before the deluge. These first of all descended from the mountains into the plains and fixed their habitation there, and persuaded others who were greatly afraid of the lower grounds on account of the flood, and so were very loath to come down from the highest places to venture to follow their examples. Now the plain in which they first dwelt was called Shinar. How about them apples? How about them apples? God also commanded them to send colonies aboard for the peopling of the earth, the land, and they might not raise seditions among themselves. Why would there be seditions among themselves? It's only 4 boys and their wives. That might cultivate a great part of the land and enjoy its fruits after a plentiful manner. But they were so ill instructed that they did not obey God. For this reason they fell in calamities and were made sensible by experience of what sin they had been guilty, for when the so and so forth. Let's see. Nay, they added to their disobedience to the divine will the suspicion that they were therefore ordered to send out separate colonies, that being divided asunder they might be more easily oppressed. They already had colonies. They didn't go out and become a colony. They were sent out in colonies. Okay? Now, I mean, Josephus has more to say about that, but nothing that really just specifically has to do with what we're talking about here today. But now I want to show you something from the Bible. Now these, Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay? Follow this closely. And unto them were sons born after the flood, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Medea, and Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rephaz, Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dadamin. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. By these three sons. Did I say there were four here?
You said four guys. I guess you meant Noah.
You kind of Noah.
I don't know. Yeah, well, it's three. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Anyway. So they each name about three sons each there. And by these, they didn't form the nations of the isles. By these, they divided the isles of the Gentiles. See that? These were the take charge people. These are the people that knew a lot. They knew how to build arks. They had instruction from God. They were trained by their father Noah. And they went out, the isles of the Gentile, and divided their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. What tongues? You mean Ham, Shem, and Japheth spoke three different languages? Can you see this? Did you ever see that in the Bible before? No! Okay. I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages more on the flood. I didn't bring it with me. Even what I brought with it, I can't go through it all. So we'll end with that. Is that enough? Are you convinced with your booklet now? The earth is very old, and there was no global flood. But there was a flood. And God destroyed the whole land and everything that was in it. And then He went out and His three sons kind of took charge, divided up the nations and the Gentiles. And, of course, they all went their wrong ways after that as well. All right, now, okay, so in concluding this series, I want to talk a little bit about the creation and something that I found that I maybe you won't think there's anything to it. I don't know. I thought it was very profound. What?
I just want to know those Indians that were killed 16,000 years ago by that meteor.
Yeah. Don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to. We were talking last night about the Cro-Magnons and the Neanderthals and so on, and we could talk about it for hours and hours and hours, and it's just really speculation. Yes.
They've got a whole series on that in the History Channel now about I forget the name of the Indians, the period of Indians. They were Europeans that migrated around. What they're
yeah, well, that's what I was saying yesterday. I don't know if I said it here. Did I talk to you about my Indian arrowheads? And then I said that the Clovis Indian arrowheads, the closest thing they could find to it is found in France.
The oceans were lower, and there was a glacier.
There was a glacier, and they think they could have followed of course, I read it in the book you saw on TV, but same thing, yeah. Okay. All right, so I talked about the Big Bang. Is it the Big Bang or the God-awesome blast? It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Just are you talking from the perspective of the scientists? It's the Big Bang. If you're talking from the perspective of the Scriptures, it was a God-awesome blast that started this whole thing off. Now, but the thing, some unique things about the universe. Okay, we learn in Hebrews that God made everything that was made from that which does not appear. In other words, saying it's made of things that you can't see. It's invisible things. But it was made of something, you see. It wasn't made of nothing. I mean, I find scientists, Christian scientists, and fundamentalist Christians alike insisting, there's this one site on the internet, the very name of it has to do with creation out of nothing. No, God did not create it out of nothing. Hebrews said it was created out of things that do not exist. I mean, out of things that are not seen, invisible. Now, God is a spirit, and it says plainly in the New Testament, God is invisible. Now, can we then conclude that the universe came out of God? Well, yes. Notice Hebrews 11. It plainly says so. You don't need to speculate about this. This is clear. Well, it may not be as clear in the King James, but it's clear in all other scriptures. Whether you can go to Concordant, the American Standard Version, Rotherham, the Diaglott, they all say the same thing. For, it says, of Him and through Him. The Greek is for out of Him. For out of Him and through Him and for Him. It says to Him. It should be for Him. It should be out, through, and for, not of, through, and to. For out of Him and through Him and for Him is all. Not are all things. Is all. Is all. To whom be glory for the eon. Amen. So, what is out of Him? All is out of Him. All is out of Him. Now, what? Last verse, 36. Now, turn to John 17:8. We learn that in in Revelation 3, we learn that Jesus Christ is the beginning of the creation of God. Now, in John 17, your turn. In John 17, Jesus said, I came out from thee. Where did Jesus come from? Did He come out of the Virgin Mary? Is that where Jesus really came from? No. I mean, I know that people believe that that's where Jesus came from, out of the Virgin Mary. He did, but He was before that. Okay? Jesus plainly says, I came out from thee, the Father. He came out of the Father. Okay? And he was before He became the Messiah. He was sent to be the Messiah from back in the Old Testament times. Yes. Well, no, it plainly says He was conceived of or by the Holy Spirit of God the Father. Now, you know, we're in John 17:8 there, but back up a couple verses. Christ says, and now, O Father, glorify you me with your own self, with the glory which I had with you before the world was. He was glorified in His Father before there was a world. It says so. In Philippians, it said He was made. It means emptied. He emptied Himself of His divinity and became in the form of man. That isn't where He came from. He didn't originate in a human baby. He emptied Himself into a little baby to become in the form of a man.
God can die, Ray.
Huh?
God cannot die. That's impossible.
It's impossible for God to die.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why He sent His Son.
But Jesus was God, you're saying.
He could be called God, but Jesus said, no, you're not. You are God's. God is not the name of the Father. Okay? It's like a title. I'm a smith. My boy Blake, he could say, I'm a smith. But he's not me, and I'm not him. And I came first, and He came second. And all of those things are true with Jesus. Okay? So you have too many scriptures. You cannot buck them. Thomas, remember when he said, "I won't believe it till I see it myself." And so when Christ appeared, when Thomas was present, He said, "Here, Thomas, put your hands in the side of my body." And what did He say? He said, "My Lord and my God." My Lord and my God. Jesus Christ did not correct Him and say, "Wait a minute, don't be calling me God." You know, earlier, before He was resurrected, somebody called Him good. He said, "Good master." He said, "Whoa, don't call me good. Don't, because there's only one good. That's God." Now we got Thomas calling Christ Himself God.
Then He also said that Jesus, that God judges no man, but committeth all judgment to the Son.
Yeah, that's true. So, Jesus Christ, He said, He said, Abraham looked for this day, He told the Pharisees. The Pharisees, what are you talking about? He said, you're not even 50 years old, and you're talking like you knew Abraham? And He said, before Abraham was, I am. I am. And that was the name that God used to Abraham. He said, "Who sent you?" When the Egyptians say, "Well, who sent you?" Say, "I am sent you. I am that I am sent you." Okay? And in Colossians, God created all things through Christ. All things. 1 Corinthians 5. There is one God, by whom all things are, and one Lord, through whom all things are. All things in creation are through Jesus Christ. Colossians. Everything that is created, whether it be visible or invisible, principalities, powers, it was all created by Jesus Christ. First chapter of Colossians. Yes. We're getting off to the wrong subjects. I don't want to spend an hour on a totally different subject. I can't even get through this. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but I can't follow all these different subjects. Okay. Now, in Psalm 18:15 it says, "When the channels of waters were seen and the foundations of the world were discovered, that Thy rebuke, O Lord, at the blast of the breath of Your nostrils." Exodus 15:8 again. Then we have statements. Isaiah 42:5, "He that creates the heavens and stretched them out." Isaiah 45:12, "I have made the earth and created man upon it. My hands have stretched out the heavens and all the host of them." Job 26:7, "He stretched out the north over the empty face and hanged the earth on nothing." These are all great scientific statements, really, and they're found in the Bible thousands of years ago. The burden of the Lord of Israel, says the Lord, which stretched forth the heavens and laid the foundation of the earth, and so on. Now, can we not see that there is a process going on? Okay? He stretched out the heavens. Did He want the heavens here, out there? Well, apparently so. Then why didn't He put them there? Are you following me? Why didn't He put them there if that's where He wanted them? Well, because He wanted them there, and then there, and then there, and then there, over a period of time. And they're still being stretched out. It's interesting. The word, the word King James uses stretcheth. He stretcheth. TH. That means it's still going on. It's a process still going on. And how would anybody thousands of years ago know that the stars are flying apart at the speed of light? Who would know that? The Bible knew it. Okay? So, there's a process going on. You say, well, why does God we just know that He does. He started with a process. Now we learned that in Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God had created the heavens and the earth. Hebrews 4, at the foundation of the world, the works were already finished. They were finished at the foundation. Now scientists tell us that the universe, since it's stretching out, it had to come from within. And all you have to do is keep going back further. What do you get? You get a point where everything came together. It was very tiny. The size of a grapefruit or a mustard seed. Ancient Jewish Kabbalists say the universe was at one time the size of a mustard seed. 2,000-3,000 years later, the greatest physicists in the world say the universe at one time was the size of a mustard seed. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Now, God started the universe at a point that we would consider a point in time. It says the beginning. He did not build an earth. He did not then build some planets and then build some stars and then build some galaxies. It all started with Him, out of Him. All is out of Him. I didn't cover that other one verse where it's all the better translations say Jesus Christ said, I came forth from the Father. Something. The Greek is I came out of the Father. Okay, I'm not talking about when He was born human. When He came into existence, I came out of the Father. Everything came out of God. The universe came out of God. And it started with Him and it went out. He stretched it out. Now scientists know that if everything was in one condensed place, and it was matter, energy matter, it couldn't consist of anything more than the hydrogen atom. You can make everything in the universe out of a hydrogen atom. Did you know that? That's the simplest and the lightest of all elements. The hydrogen atom. Well, how can, and it'll just float and it's invisible. How can you make steel ball bearings out of an invisible gas? You just add more protons and electrons. That's all. And the more you add, the heavier they get. It's an amazing thing. You got the nucleus, you got a proton, you've got a electron that spins around it very fast. And you just think that's the building block. And you add more photons, you add more electrons, and you build more materials. But in the beginning, there was a hydrogen atom. And scientists would say that there was a big bang, a big explosion, when God into space. And it was very hot and going very fast, but it slowed down and began to cool to the point that sometime afterward light could escape. But first, there had to be molecular changes, atomic changers, for there even to be light. And this all would happen under these laws of thermodynamics that began to work. And then eventually there was a solar system. So we have those first descriptions there in the beginning of Genesis. And He created all this. He had created. And the earth was already, or had existed, in this form, void, darkness. And then we begin the 6 periods of fashioning. In the first one he says, let there be light. Okay? This is exactly what scientists say. So far out into the universe as this expansion went on, light could start to escape, and there was light. Now, scientists who don't believe in God do understand now for the first time. 20, 30 years ago, most scientists would not tell you there was a beginning. Now all reputable scientists say, yes, there had to be a beginning. Just like Genesis said for thousands of years. There had to be a beginning. When they discovered what they call background radiation from outer space, this is the background sonic boom, if you will, of the Big Bang. And therefore they know it had to go back. That the universe is not stagnant. In other words, the universe is not just here, it's always been here, it'll always be here. See, that was a concept. But no, it had a beginning. They will tell you that everything that has come out of that Big Bang had to be so infinitesimally calculated and timed that any error at all, this universe could not have come about. Nothing in the explosion could have been off by 100th quadrillion billionth of a megasecond, or it would not have worked. The power, the density, the speed is so awesome. It had to be absolutely, flawlessly perfect. Perfect. This universe now manufactures new solar systems, suns, moons, stars, and so on. It's already built in. It's like a pre-programmed robot. Our sun was not created in Genesis 1:1 as a sun. Only the raw materials that eventually become our sun were created. Okay? The universe is probably 16 billion years old. Our sun is 4.5 billion years old. Where was it for those other 11.5, 12 billion years? Where was it? It was in another sun. It was in another sun. Our sun is not an original sun. It's not old enough, and it's made of the wrong materials. Are there original suns? Probably. But they're blowing up. That one blew up 169,000 years ago. Light reached the Earth back in 1987. Our sun came from one of those explosions. The original suns do not have heavy metal. They can prove all this stuff. I mean, they have ways of measuring it. So tell me, you cannot even conceive how technically advanced science is today. They know so much. They can do so much. It is mind-boggling. Original suns do not contain heavy metals. You do not get heavy metals until you blow one up. And that produces heavy metals. Then it then formulates a new sun from that blown up material. You have heavy metals. Our Earth has heavy metals. If we didn't come out of the creation, we wouldn't have heavy metals, because what originated did not contain heavy metals. So there's a reason why our Earth and Sun and solar system didn't come along until after about 12 billion years. And that's why we're younger than a lot of the stars and the rest of the solar system. We were not there yet, you see. And then when God started to fashion the Earth, I don't want to go into all the theories how the Earth came out of the stars, but there's ways to explain that scientifically. And how the sun came out, and then the stars and the planets, and then for so many millions of years they were being bombarded with meteorites and everything until they got to their present size and so on. And then most of the the meteorites and so on have spent themselves in our area of the galaxy, and that's why we're not being bombarded every 10 or 20 years with one of these giant 10-mile meteorites. We are now where God wants us. Where in Genesis 1:2, the earth was tohu and bohu, which really means uninhabitable for man. It is uninhabitable. I mean, unsuited. It cannot be inhabited by man. It was a condition; they could not live there. But it said God made it, so it could be inhabited. In Genesis, I say it's 45. So He put it in that condition in Yom 1, Yom 2, Yom 3, Yom 4. You see, but it's all a process. I mean, the very Bible, the very first chapter shows it's all a process. He did not snap His finger or speak the word and boom, there was a universe, an earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, trees, mountains, and everything. It was not. It's not the way it's done. That's not the way the Bible said it was done. Now, it was done at His command. It was done at His behest. It didn't happen by itself. But God built it in. One of the young men was asking me about chapter the 11th verse, verse 10. And God called the land dry earth, Eretz. He called it earth, or it could be a land. He called it land or ground. Now, how can He call the dry earth when 2/3 of the earth is water? You follow me? He wasn't calling this the dry, the earth. The earth is 2/3 water, 1/3 land. He's calling the land, and 1/3 of it, He's calling it, that's the earth? No, that's the land. Can you see how this word gets confusing when you always translate Eretz, earth? And the gathering together He called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass. That word grass just means green, really. Plant. Bring forth plant, green. Probably algae. The simplest form of plant life. Did you say, and God took a handful of earth and molded grass or something? No. He said, let the earth do it. You see that? Where did the green come from? From the earth. Who made it? The earth made it. God said, let the earth do it. You do it. But it was at the command of God. It wouldn't have happened if God didn't command it. This is not spontaneous generation or evolution. This is all at the behest of God. But see how He did it. Let the earth do it. And the earth did it. That's how God did it. Now when He made man, He Himself formed the man and molded the man. But the grass, He let the earth do it. Look at verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth. All right. So I asked the question, did God have a master plan when He created the universe? Did He have something in mind? Where did that come from? Was this something He always had in mind? Like I said, I always wanted to build a universe. Yeah? How long? Oh, I've always felt that way. Yeah. Do you think You'll ever do it? Maybe someday. I mean, no, seriously, follow me. Yeah, maybe someday. Well, is it a good plan? Oh, yeah, it's a good plan. It's a good plan. Why don't you do it now? Well, yeah, okay, maybe I'll do it now. Did God always have this plan? See, we get this thing that God has always been everything that He is. God says He doesn't change. It doesn't say. He says He has all knowledge. Oh, yeah? Where did He get it? I mean, I don't doubt God has all knowledge. Where did he get it? Well, he always had it. Do you have a chapter and verse on that?
Is, was, always will be.
What?
Is, was, and always will be.
Jesus said that. But he was a created being. He came out from the Father. But now that he did, he's alive today, resurrected from the dead. He was the one who created everything. He was the one who died for the sins of man, and he always will be. That's true. But that, and even if you were to say that of the Father, that he is and was and always will be, there's still no statement that he always was what he is. Okay? Does God learn? You say, Ray, it's sacrilege to talk like that. I'm sorry. I think about this. I talk to God about stuff like this. I don't feel like I'm sacrilegious. I honor God. I worship God. Coming here to learn this stuff, this is worship. Waving your hands and falling over backwards and foaming at the mouth, that's not worship. Learning the truths of God and saying, I believe that, I can see that, this is wise, this is wisdom, this will help me be the kind of person God. That's worship. You believe and you obey God. That's worship. Okay. Now, well, you know, I've asked these questions all my life. And didn't have no answer for them. But I asked the questions. Does God learn? I know He knows everything. But does He know everything because He learned it all? So, I thought, well, you know, a lot of stuff we're not going to know. But then I've also believed that there's so much more in the Bible than we've ever seen. I mean, it's in there. There's so much in there. You just have to pay attention to the words. No, I look at Scripture and I read them over 30, 50, 180 times. And sometimes something jumps out at me. I'm relentless. I'm like a bulldog. And I beg God. I say, God, I don't know. Show me. I don't know. Show me. Show me. It's in there. I know it's in there. Show me. So anyway, is there any indication in the Bible that God, before the creation, before there was a universe or even a Jesus Christ, is there any indication that God either learned something or accomplished something that didn't exist with Him prior to that? I want to say, Ray, I think you're in dangerous ground. I think you're talking heresy, and this verges on sacrilegion. I asked the question. I had a debate with Jeff Friddy, a friend of mine. Who's got some screwy ideas, but he's a nice guy. Anyway, and I was talking about emotion. He says, Ray, God does not have emotions. I said, well, what is love? And how come God is love? And if love is an emotion, that's just for human terms. He's so way above that, beyond that, and everything else. But then, over time, I got to thinking about that. I said, wait a minute. In Galatians 5, we're given a list of the fruits of God's Spirit, right? And one of them in the King James is long suffering. Okay? Long suffering. What does that mean? Patience. What is it made up of? It's made up of an archaic English term. Long suffering. To suffer, listen to me, to suffer long. One of the fruits of God's Spirit is to suffer long. How can it be a fruit of God's Spirit if He doesn't even possess it Himself? I told somebody I was going to ask the question at this conference, did God ever do an honest day's work in His life? I mean a really hard day's work. Did He? I said, He created the universe. I mean, that was a little, No, but all these Christian theology. He just spoke it, and let there be stars, let there be suns and moons, let there be an earth, let there be just let it be, let it be, let it be. There you are. Wow, I'm tired. I think I'll rest today. Did God ever do an honest, hard day's work in His life? You say, Ray, it doesn't apply. You can't apply what we do to what He does. How can you say it doesn't apply? Jesus Christ worked, and He suffered, and He was long-suffering, and He had patience, and He was the very image of His Father. The express, stamped image of His Father. And we are to be in the image of Jesus Christ, Romans 8. In the very image of God, in the very image of Jesus Christ, our elder brother. So how could Jesus have all this love and all this patience and all this mercy? And He said everything He got came from His Father. Every thought He thought, every word He spoke, every deed He did came from His Father. How can you say the Father doesn't have patience? Patience is doing without something you want. Something you want, but you can't have it now. You have to exercise patience. You might even have to have long-suffering. You might have to suffer long. That's the fruit of God's Spirit. And I could never believe in my heart of hearts that God would expect of us things that He wouldn't move His little finger to do Himself. Jesus Christ berated the Pharisees. He said, you load these heavy, heavy burdens on people. Very difficult for them to do what you tell them they need to do to be holy and righteous and good. And you wouldn't move them with one of your fingers. Is He accusing the Pharisees of something His own Father is guilty of? Are you following me?
Yeah.
Is Jesus Christ condemning and berating the Pharisees for something His own Father is guilty of? That He lays heavy burdens on us and He wouldn't lift them with one of His fingers? But we have to. We have to suffer through 60, 80 years of sometimes horrible misery and disease and heartache and everything. What does God know about that? Nothing. I don't think so. I don't buy that nonsense anymore. I think God has gone through a lot for us. Now, I said that Ungelos translated Genesis 1:1 not in the beginning, but in wisdom. Right? In wisdom. God created the heaven and the earth. I couldn't understand that. And I looked up strong. I got all the words of wisdom and look up the word. It didn't make sense. But then I did find scriptures in the Psalms and so on that says in wisdom God created the heaven and the earth. It's not Genesis 1:1, but it's a statement. In wisdom God created the heavens and the earth. There's several of them. But is that the way Genesis 1:1 could be translated? Well, apparently so. So when you look at Strong's definition, there's one word at the end of the definition. He says first fruits, the first, the beginning. The principle. The principal thing. The principal thing. What is that? The principal thing. The principal thing. And Ungelos translates in wisdom, God created the earth. That's where did he get it? I don't know. And finally, it hit me. Someplace the Bible must tell us what the principal thing is. Huh? Proverbs 4:7. Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the principal thing. There it is. Wisdom is the principal thing. Now, go over to chapter 8. chapter 8, it talks about wisdom personified. Does not wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? Hear, for I will speak of excellent things in the opening of my lips, and so on. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence. Verse 12. I'm in chapter 8 of Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogance, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign, princes decree justice. By me wisdom, princes rule, and nobles over all the judges of the earth. I, wisdom, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early and find me. Riches and honor are with me, and so on. My fruit is better than gold, verse 19. I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgments. Verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of His way, before His works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, forever, the earth, or ever, or before the earth ever was. Wisdom is speaking in the first person. I, wisdom, I was with the Lord in the beginning, before there ever was any works. I was set up ere the earth was, before there was an earth. Now, here's where I got this, and you'll never get into King James. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with waters, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was, I brought forth. While as yet He had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest parts of the dust of the world. When He prepared the heavens, I was there. When He set a compass upon the face of the earth, when He established the clouds, and so on and so forth. Who was there with God? Wisdom. Before anything was made, who was there with God? Wisdom. Where did it come from? Took a little digging to get this out. It says, when there was no depths, I was brought forth. Okay? Now, before I get into that, understand that terms that apply to us are applied to God. The Bible talks about men of power. Does God have power? Is the power that God possesses greater or lesser than the power that men possess?
Greater.
Much greater, considerably greater, infinitesimally more greater. Does God have mercy?
Yes.
Does He have more mercy than men?
Amen.
Does God have love?
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Same love we have, right? Same amount. You cannot compare the love that God has with the love that we have. So yes, we have love and we kind of know what it means. But it cannot be compared with the love that God has. Now, therefore, whatever words are applied to us, when they're applied to Him, it's infinitesimally more greater and more profound. Agreed?
Amen.
Okay. The word there brought forth in chapter 8 is kol. Kol, kul, keel. A primitive root, properly, it can be in some contexts, it can mean to twist or to dance, but this is only one application of it. But it means to writhe in pain. Okay? not just to hurt, to, like I felt for 2 weeks, writhing in pain. Just can't even think straight. Writhing in pain. What?
What verse?
I'm not in a verse. I'm giving you a definition of a Hebrew word. But we're in chapter 8, verse 24. It means to bear, to bring forth, to calve, to be with pain, great, grieve, grievous, sore, pain, sorrow, travail, on and on and on. Those are powerful words, aren't they? If you went through all that, you'd think you were in childbirth. In childbirth. Guess what this word means here? I was brought forth. Travailed. Birthed. Can this mean what it says? Before God could create us and the universe and creatures in His own likeness, He had to know how to do it. How hard was that? Oh, it's nothing too hard for God. There's nothing too hard for God. Too hard. That means impossible. But how close to that does it come? Are things very, very hard for God at times? Did God ever do an honest day's work? Did God ever suffer? Was God ever long-suffering? Did He have to have patience? He could not build this universe until He possessed the wisdom to do it. Before the creation came the master plan and the wisdom to do it. How did He get that wisdom? He birthed it under the pain and travail and agony that He passed on to women to experience a minute, little, insignificant part of what it's like to bring about children that are going to be in the image of God. He travailed with pain and agony till wisdom was birthed out of Him so that He could now build the universe. It says so. I mean, you can say, well, I don't see it. I don't care. This wisdom was with Him before the heavens and the earth. It was with Him. But where did it come from? He birthed it with great pain, travail, and sorrow. It was difficult for God. So don't think God hasn't done anything for us. God has never suffered. God has never had to work hard. God has never had to go long periods of time and not get what it is that He wanted. Don't think that way anymore. You have a Father in heaven that can identify with everything you are. Okay, go ahead with that.
11 more.